welcome to What's On at Cineworld Cinemas. I'm Laurie Blake. I'm joined by Dan Layton.
Hi, everybody. Little Hollywood guys.
Here's what's coming up on the show. On this week's show, we take a first look at the robots in disguise, while they're in disguise, as we get the first teaser image from the set of Transformers 7.
We'll go through this week's latest releases, including the Addams Family 2.
And we'll run down everything you can book tickets for at your local Cineworld right now. So, Dan, this is exciting news for me. I'm positively vibrating at this news.
I can feel it.
The first like on-set images from the new Transformers film, Rise of the Beasts, have been put online on Instagram by Stephen Cable Jr., the director of the film, and they show all of the Autobots, Dan, in their lovely little Generation 1 color schemes and forms. Oh, I don't know why we waited so long, Dan.
How long has the series been going on at this point? 2007 was the first one, wasn't it? So it's been about nearly 15 years, and they're only now giving you what you want. But was it worth the wait when you're looking at these pictures?
It was worth the wait. I think my love for Transformers has only somehow managed to... It's weathered the storm of them killing off Jazz in the very first film, Dan, which almost lost me. It almost lost me. I was almost gone when Jazz died. I was like, Jazz, my favourite one. And
when it's your favourite one, that's quite heartbreaking.
But then Bumblebee brought the hope back. Bumblebee had the lovely bit on Cybertron at the beginning when they were all in their sort of like G1 retro robot space forms, which is great. Then you had the stuff on the planet where you got like to see some of the Decepticons as like the proper jets, and you got to see Bumblebee in a really cool sort of old school form. And now we're seeing even more of the Autobots and the Decepticons in kind of more Generation 1 inspired forms in this image.
So like where this if I'm not wrong, this is coming from like an old Transformers show. Like the source material they've drawn from is quite in the past. Is that right?
So when I'm saying Generation 1, I should probably explain this for people who aren't
aren't
nerds, who aren't stupid nerds like me who know all this stuff for some reason.
Own it. Come on.
People who aren't obsessed with Transformers, Generation 1 is the people who don't spend their time watching cartoon reruns from the 1980s. The like original set of Transformers, which were all imported toys that became the Transformers. They imported all these weird toys, Hasbro, from disparate bits of Japanese kind of toy lines into one toy line, and then they made this whole story of Transformers out of it. Those models and that TV series is known as Generation 1, and anything after that is absolute bobbins. And it's you're muck for liking it, as far as I'm concerned. Generation 1 all the way, baby.
Although, of course, if you do like it, I like you. So that's balance. That's what balance looks like. It's you. That's fair.
That's fairness and balance. But yeah, so this is an interesting kind of arc for the film, I think, to take, because one, it's kind of giving the old school fans that little nostalgia pop of showing these kind of forms for the Transformers. We haven't seen what they're going to look like as robots yet, but you'd assume that it would hew a bit closer to what was seen in Generation 1, which is kind of chunkier and more anime-ish. And
that's very the vibe, because nostalgia is like, we love that stuff. Like we've loved going back to, I mean, with the new Ghostbusters movie, nice bit of nostalgia pop. With Bumblebee even, it was a nice little, like, as you say, like at the beginning, giving you a little spice of, oh, you know this. So like that's very on vogue in general.
And I think you want to do it in a way as well, like what I've really enjoyed about Ghostbusters Afterlife marketing so far has suggested that it's very reverent of the series and very much aware of where it came from, but is trying to push it in new directions. And I think Bumblebee achieved that quite nicely. Like, I think they were on the right track with the 2007 film. You wanted to do Transformers, but you didn't want to just rehash the 1980s movie or like just rehash anything from the cartoons. You wanted to tell a new story. But I think they went too far in kind of changing the lore and changing the models and changing the kind of characters and all of that stuff. Whereas this is very close to the source material, but seems to be pushing in its own direction. And I really, really like that.
That's the best part of like finding the balance when you are taking an old project or product or IP. That's what it's called. That's the proper terminology is IP. When you're taking an old IP and you are bringing it to fresh, you want to maintain that. There's a reason that you want to turn it into something because it has that built-in fan base, and it's finding the way of doing that very sort of difficult tightrope walk of maintaining what people love, but giving it new life and making it fresh and connecting for people. And when I chatted to the team behind Bumblebee for Cineworld, you could tell that this was a passion project for them. So I think they're injecting that part of it back in, where now when we look at nostalgia, we're all so keen on honoring the legacy as well. So this is kind of interesting that they're bringing it all back.
Yeah, and so like the image which we'll have on screen right now is it's got, you can see Optimus Prime in kind of the truck form that he had. Bumblebee seems to have changed from a VW Beetle into some sort of a bit more of a sports model, so somewhere between the Dodge that he was in the later films and the kind of original Bumblebee model. There's Mirage is the kind of sports car one, apparently. Paramount and Hasbro confirmed. I got excited for a second. I thought they brought Jazz back, but they haven't. It's apparently Mirage.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day Jazz will come back. Maybe one day he'll get his due. Then there was RC, is what people are speculating the motorbike is, which is the first ever female Transformer that they did. And then there's a VW van, which is the mystery everyone's talking about. Speculation is that it. Yeah, that's just parked out. That's how they got there. That's the crew
rocking up and forgetting to clear it from the shot. That's a Downton Abbey plastic bottle. Yeah, don't worry about that. It's just a van, everybody.
People are speculating that this might be Wheeljack, who is quite a fan favorite character. We haven't seen in any of the films so far. Interestingly, to me, go on.
Is it Wheeled Jack?
Wheeljack.
Wheeljack. Does Wheeljack have like sort of 70s Woodstock energy? Because if so, that would be great.
No, so Wheeljack was like a mechanic type character in the original, right. And he was actually like a race car. But yeah, so I don't know.
Give it flower power. If it's going to be a VW, if it's going to be a van, I want it to have flower power. So come on, change the film. I asked for it. Thank you.
Do it right. Do it this second.
Do it how I say.
The other thing that I think is like the other thing I, as a fan, am excited for in this is that there's not just this like looking at the Generation 1 cartoon for inspiration. They're using the other best Transformers bit of media that ever occurred, which was Beast Wars, the CG cartoon they did like mid to late 90s, which was all about like Transformers that had been sent to the past. They'd gone to Earth in search of Energon, which is their like life force, and they ended up somehow in the past where there were dinosaurs. So they all took on like dinosaur or animal forms, and that's why this is called Rise of the Beasts. Is because we're going to start seeing some of the Maximals and the Predacons, as the Autobots and Decepticons became renamed, appear in this film. Apparently, it's going to feature Rhinox, who was the big Rhino one, and Optimus Primal, who was a gorilla. But he is sort of like a protege of Optimus Prime to a degree.
Listen, this is what I love about the movies. I love big things smashing each other. So if you're going to take one of the first things I saw when I went back to the cinema back in the summer was Godzilla vs. Kong in 4DX. I'd already seen it at home, but I wanted to see it in big, smashy, throw me about action. So if you're going to bring me that stuff, I'm all about it. I'm here for it.
I think and that's the kind of fun thing. This is kind of got that big kaiju versus giant mecha thing going on, where we're probably going to see like huge robot dinosaurs taking on giant robot people and big gorillas having a fight. Like that's tagline, perfect for a Transformers.
That's the whole tagline. Big robot dinosaurs taking on big robot people. You don't need to do any other marketing. We're in. I'm here for it.
So yeah, I like as images go. This is probably one of the ones. This is the subject that we've spoken about on What's On that I am most excited about, because I think there's been some wobbles along the way with Transformers, but I feel like Bumblebee brought us right back on track. And this image from Stephen Caple Jr. just says to me that they are going to be spot on with this movie, and I am so excited.
You always want to be a little careful, don't you, that it's not getting carried away, because it is just an image. It is just a picture, so we don't know. These are all speculative stuff. But when you look at that and then you look at the cast, who's in it? So we've got Dominic Fishback, who's just come off being nominated for a BAFTA, Anthony Ramos, Ron Perlman. It's a great cast. You know, like it there's got a lot of things going for it. And so this could very well be exactly what you're dreaming of. And I hope it is for you. No one else. For you, I hope it feels good.
Thank you, Dan. That's so kind of you. Out now at Cineworld, and new this week is the Addams Family 2, a lovely animated October-themed
Oh
adventure
yeah,
for all the family. Good time of year to release an Addams Family film.
yeah, very
I
nice.
genuinely liked and loved the Addams Family, the first Addams Family kind of reimagined CG film. I think it had this kind of really offbeat sense of humor as you would expect from an Addams Family film. Had a quite heartwarming, interesting story about the kind of families beginning to win over the town in which they live, and they're kind of outcasts, and has some really like laugh out loud funny moments. One of those ones that walks the very careful line between it's very good for kids, but as an adult you can still go and enjoy that film. Did you get a
Which
chance to
is,
see
as
it?
much as everyone says this, that is a tricky thing to pull off. Like that is to walk that line again between entertaining kids and entertaining adults. It can go too far one of two ways. So to marry that is quite impressive. I didn't get a chance to see the original, but I do love everything Addams Family. Like I think that the reason it's so popular, the reason that people latch onto it is because we all feel a little bit like that outsidery person. You know, we all feel like we arrive in a place and everyone's looking at us and it's a bit weird. Of course, I love the classic movies. I love the
Mm.
musical. I love the classic series. I think Adam's Family is just a wonderful piece of entertainment, and I think that it's kind of the look of this feels very current. You know, I love the kind of Tim Burton meets Illumination sort of visual style of it.
Yeah, it's got this. It walks this really nice line between not being too grungy and not being too cartoony, and but it's got a
Yeah.
very distinct look, and everyone's kind of got that fun proportions, but they kind of still feel like because these are such well-known characters as well. Like they
Mm,
kind of all still feel like they're the right kind of person when you see them animated. You know what I mean? It's no one. You
yeah.
don't look at anyone and go like, "Oh, that's not how I imagined him," or "That's not how I've
Mm.
seen them portrayed before." But it's not a direct lift either from just the classic series or the classic movies. Like it is something fresh and new, but still keeps the essence of what made the Addams Family so great.
Yeah, and I think when you're doing anything like this animated, it is fun to reimagine a character that is known so well, to like really play with, like you say, proportions and things like that. And just when you have this cast as well, you sort of base level cast of characters: Oscar Isaac, Charlize Theron, Chloe Grace Moretz. Like you have a team of people who are going to give you excellent voices and excellent characteristics. So it's that marriage of all of the different elements. Yeah, I'm gonna have what a great opportunity to see the first Adams Family and then catch up with this at the pictures.
Exactly, and then also if you are if you're wanting something kind of Halloween-y, but you're a
Mm.
little bit of a fraidy cat, this is the perfect film. Or if you've got young ones as
I
well, this is a great film to
am
go see.
awful at horror films. I'm so bad at horror films. I can't do it. And then, which means that like the last couple of weeks of my October are usually very quiet at the pictures because I'm like, well, I can't go and see this one. I can't because I will be absolutely scared witless and I'll not be able to get home. So it's lovely to have something for the weak among us, like me.
But you're going to like a couple of the things that are also out at Cineworld right now, but more on them in a second. Because also out now is No Time to Die, Dan. Have you seen that?
Indeed. I have. I was very lucky in my capacity as film boy extraordinaire to go to the official multimedia screenings that was happening at the same time as the premiere. Not good enough to go to the premiere, but I did get the thing that was on at the same time as the premiere. So I put on a jacket. I felt very glamorous and saw the movie in all its glory. Had a martini beforehand because obviously, yeah, I had a great time. I
As
think
is tradition.
it's as is tradition, as is necessary. I think, yeah, I had a great time. I thought it was really fun. I think that it's interestingly for me a little bit like Daniel Craig's trajectory as Bond overall, insofar as there were moments where I was so in it, so about it, moments where it didn't quite hit the mark, but the whole thing was just it's everything you want from a Bond movie. It's glamorous, it's action packed. Anna de Armas is incredible. She's in it for a very short period of time, but wow, does she make an impact? I think it's just what we have missed from going to the pictures. That was something that I really, you know, felt the whole way through. That you can't ignore the fact that it has been so long coming out, that it was delayed and pushed back, and it is absolutely worth the wait because you just don't get things like this very often.
But if that doesn't tickle your fancy, how about The Sopranos prequel, The Many Saints of Newark, with James Gandolfini's son playing a young Tony Soprano? Or the latest from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? A little bit of pre-Halloween spooking if you fancied seeing Malignant or Candyman. Then there's Free Guy or the Paw Patrol movie to round out what is in Cineworld right now. You can book your tickets for those by clicking the links in the description down below, but you could also pre-book to come and see some of the biggest movies to hit Cineworld later this year, including Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which is coming out in IMAX, 4DX, ScreenX, and Super Screen, and that'll be released on the 15th of October. So get your tickets in there, because we've got to know what happens in that end credit scene. If alien symbiotes aren't your thing, though, how about massive, big, blooming alien sandworms? Because Dune is also coming to Cineworld on the 21st of October, and you can pre-book tickets to see it in IMAX, 4DX, and Super Screen, and I am going to do that now. I'm doing it now. You can also get tickets for special screenings for the month of October, including Scream's 25th anniversary re-release, which is out on the 12th of October and the 31st of October at Cineworld Cinemas. You can see Blade in 4K on the 30th of October, or you can watch the 20th anniversary screening of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on the 29th of October or the 31st of October. Witches and wizards for Halloween, Dan.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, tis the season. So
'tis the season indeed. And if you really want to get into witches for the season, on the 26th of October, there is a Hocus Pocus re-release being shown at Cineworld Cinemas. Hocus Pocus, a classic Halloween film and a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a prime opportunity for a whole generation who haven't really had a chance to see, because it is beloved for so many of us, a generation who haven't had a chance to experience it at the pictures. Introduce the youngs among us, the young ones, to go and see Bette Midler sing "And I Put a Spell on You" in full witch get-up. Listen, it's life-changing.
But perhaps even more excitingly for you Cineworld Unlimited card holders, there is a special unlimited screening of the 2021 Denis Villeneuve Dune happening on the 18th of October, and you can go and book your tickets for that right now. Dan, I know you've seen it because you're the lucky man. Tell us about it. It's worth doing,
I will be booking my unlimited screening because it is a classic. I don't want to give too much. I don't want to say too much, but for me, it was a reminder of what cinema can do with this kind of like high fantasy science fiction stuff. The energy that it gave me was that of OG Lord of the Rings. It was not afraid to be slow and take its time and challenge the audience to keep up. It treats its audience with respect. It treats the material with respect. Listen, everyone's going to have a fantastic time with it. We all know Timothée Chalamet, you say, is the big poster child of the movie, but Rebecca Ferguson is incredible. So get into that unlimited screening, and I'm sure we'll talk about it loads more in the weeks to come. But oh boy.
I am so excited, and I think I'm probably going to be booking tickets to go see this because I have been rereading. I reread Dune quite recently. I'm reading Dune Messiah right now. I love this setting. It is incredible, and it's like so interesting and deep and well built, and
so rich. There's so much of it. There are so many, and I haven't read the original, but there's so much that I understand from reading about it that they have built on and only added to and never taken away from. They've just made it even stronger. And you can feel that throughout the movie. It's just so, as I say, rich. The setting, the landscape, the character work, the costuming, the production design. It's delicious. It's so good. I had such
delicious, like the spice melange itself, delicious.
Indeed.
And highly addictive. And of course, you can still book your tickets for a bit of event cinema to see Cliff Richard, The Great 80 Tour live, which is only on the 27th of October this year. That's all we have time for on this edition of What's On at Cineworld. Remember, you can book tickets to everything mentioned in this video by clicking the link in the description down below. Definitely get yourself in to some of those Halloween screenings of classic films. And also, Go and check out the podcast version of this show, wherever you get your podcasts from, because we have exclusive content in there. Plus, we read out your comments from the YouTube videos. Until next time, I've been Laurie Blake, and I've been joined by Dan Layton. Thank you so much, Dan, for being here.
Absolute pleasure. Everyone's favourite substitute teacher.
And that was What's On.